Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by therealthingdating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh,
And everyone heard like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character. I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go. Hi, I'm Eva John, and welcome to CooLife Podcast. This is our season 1 finale, and so it's a look back show. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched on YouTube, who listened on Spotify and iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts, and Google. You helped and supported us and kind of put us on the map. Season 1, episode 1, and episode 2, we were number 1 in our category. Episode 3, I didn't look. I didn't want to break the spell. And I just want to thank you for listening on Spotify, for watching us on YouTube. Spotify also offers a video option, so you can watch us on Spotify as well. And I can't believe it. We made it through season 1. And it's just been a lot of fun. So thank you all so much. Before we start our look back finale episode, I do want to just answer a quick question about, yes, this is a real place. So this is not a backdrop. This is real. This lights up because it's a real mouse. Real craft here. Real stuff. So we're going to take a look at a favorite episode with our guest, Boris Klimovich, owner of Maple Crescent Farm. It was really cool having Boris visit. Boris, his family's originally from Ukraine, and he went from being a city slicker growing up in Canada and managing nightclubs in Toronto and New York, being a professional actor. And then he shut it all down, bought a farm, became a horse rancher. And that's how he lives his life. So for over 20 years. And it's pretty exciting to see someone really make their dreams come true. And it's certainly inspiring. Boris, it was so great to have you here. You're always welcome back. Here, let's have a look at some of the fun and conversation we enjoyed with Boris on CooLife Podcast. And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and today we're with our guest, Boris Klimovich, owner, rancher at the Maple Crescent Farm. Boris, welcome to CooLife.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here, and I'm so excited with our discussion about your lifestyle. I mean, you've certainly gone full circle, where you're a world traveler, you are a performing artist, an actor, club owner, club manager. We have seen you come to this wonderful life. And I'm just wondering, at what point in your life did you decide to go from being 100% a city slicker to 100% of rancher farm owner?
Okay, so I can give you a short answer, or I can give you the honest answer. The short answer, well, there's actually 2 short answers. One, from when I was managing nightclubs to becoming a farmer or to rancher, my decision was I decided to stop working with animals and decided to work with horses. So that's the short answer. The long answer is ever since I was a little kid growing up in Odessa, Ukraine, which was part of Soviet Union at that time, I always wanted to be a cowboy.
Okay.
That's always been my passion. And I used to go watch Western movies with my cousin, and I always wanted to be with horses. I came back to Toronto, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at that time, I told her, I said, I'm going to quit my job. And she said, and do what? I said, I'm going to buy a farm. And she went, okay, can I come? I said, sure. And I gave the owner of the club that I was managing at that time a 1 year notice,
Okay. Yeah.
because I was there for 7 years at that point.
Okay.
And to me, symbolism is very important. So I basically gave him notice, and I quit him the same day I started.
Oh, wow.
It was
Okay.
kind of like a complete circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's very fair. I've got to say, I've never heard of somebody giving 1 year notice. I'd say that's more than fair. Wow.
well, I think it was also important for me to kind of wrap my brain around the fact that what I'm actually planning to do.
Right.
And Kendra and I looked for a farm for close to 2 years until we were able to find one that was we felt was the right, A, financially,
Okay.
B, it had all the things that we were looking for.
Okay. And so, continuing, so you're at the point at which you've given 1 year's notice, which is so generous. I mean, I don't think I've ever recently heard of anybody giving
No.
1 year's notice. Right?
I had an immense amount of loyalty to the club and to the staff. I built that club. I created all the concepts for the evening events and stuff like that, and I worked very closely with promoters and DJs, and I had a lot of staff that were still there for 8 years.
Right.
Because I didn't just look at the TNA aspect of it. I looked at loyalty and honesty. The club was in its third, fourth, and fifth year, or second, third, and fourth year. I don't remember anymore. But for 3 years in a row, the club was the third, sold the third highest volume of beer in Ontario.
Wow.
And the only place that beat us was the Skydo and Maple Leaf Gardens.
Holy macaroni.
Yeah. So we were open 28 days a month.
So now, are we able to mention that club? Was that
Limelight? Yeah, Limelight.
That was Limelight. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We were open 28 days a month. We were #1 vodka seller. We were, I think, #2 for rye. And I think 3 or 4 for rum. I mean, yeah, we were doing stupid numbers.
Yeah, wow.
But I worked 80 hours a week.
Oh, of course.
So, and like I said, we were open 28 days of the month.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, that's a big transition to say, okay, I love horses. I'm buying a ranch. Here I go. Hey, your girlfriend's going with you. Your lives are changing for both of you. To start a new way of living. I mean, obviously you loved horses. Is that how you settled on horses? Because you said you had other animals, and then you kind of switched to horses.
No, it was horses. I mean, we had dogs, but
okay,
they're not livestock. They're just
not yet.
No, they're kids with bad table manners. No, it was always horses. It was always about being a cowboy. I never wanted to get into livestock because it just wasn't. I didn't know enough about it. I didn't know enough about horses. When we did actually start the farm, I realized that even though I knew how to ride, well, I actually didn't know how to ride. I thought I knew how to ride, but I didn't know how to ride. I thought I knew horses, but I didn't know horses. I thought I knew what farming would be about, and I had no clue. And
wow.
Everything was a learning curve.
Yes, of course.
So I went from working 28 days a week at a club to working 31 days, 31 days a month, 28 days a month to 31 days a month.
Wow.
So
now, with all the work that you're doing, and do you remember when you started out, what kind of hours you were putting in per day?
On the farm?
Yeah, on your
Oh.
on Maple Crescent Farm when you did that switch.
You know, to be honest with you, I would say probably the first month. We moved June 15th. We moved into our farm, 2003, and I think the first month I hardly did any work.
Mhm.
Where do you start?
Right. So you're there, you've got your farm, and you were just getting acquainted with the farm. Is that what your first
No,
steps
we
were?
thought we were in La La Land. We were having picnics underneath maple trees. You know, yeah, it was just,
yeah,
it was beautiful. And then my neighbor, who's passed away since, came along while we were sitting underneath the maple tree having our picnic and lunch, and he said, "Are you going to need hay?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, it's not going to bale itself, so you need to tell me when you want me to cut it and bale it for you." "Oh, I have to take that responsibility?" "Yeah, it's your hay." "Oh, okay. When should I cut it?" He goes, "Well, it should have been cut 2 weeks ago." "Okay, well, all right. Well, I guess let's cut it." He goes, "Well, we can't cut it because the rain is coming." And so you start learning, and it's just it's and then every year became a little more intense, and I would say that probably at some point in the second, third year we were there, I was putting in between 12 to 14, 16 hours a day.
Right.
Especially, I mean, basically sunlight dictates the amount of hours you work. As long as the sun is out, you're working.
Right. Yeah. Our thanks to Boris for his time here at CooLife. And next we're going to have a look back at our time with Olivia Pfaff. She is a director, producer, award-winning filmmaker who actually won an award at the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, I have a dream of just attending the Cannes Film Festival, and she won for Best Documentary as a director. So I'm just blown away by her, and I'm just so in awe of her work on her documentary on the war in Ukraine. So please enjoy this look back at our interview with Olivia Pfaff, CooLife podcast. The following is an excerpt from the award-winning short documentary film Ukraine War in the Eyes of Refugees, produced and directed by Olivia Pfaff. In this excerpt, military tanks drive over snow-covered roads in Ukraine. Then, uniformed police help frightened refugees manage luggage and a small child, which are bundled into metal shopping carts. We see a field of bright sunflowers in stark contrast to the previous images. And then, a child's birthday at a tented refugee camp. Arina is turning 7 years old in the midst of a war. She is surrounded by uniformed refugee camp personnel. And now, please join me in my conversation with Ms. Olivia Pfaff, award-winning film producer, director, and journalist, nominated for dozens of international awards for her film Ukraine War in the Eyes of Refugees, winner of several awards for this film, most notably Semi-finalist for the London Indie Short Festival, March 2023. Finalist Around Films International Film Festival, Best Documentary Category 2023. And winner, Best Female Filmmaker, Cannes International Cinema Festival 2023. And now, join me in my conversation with Ms. Olivia Huff. Welcome to CooLife Podcast. We have Olivia Pfaff with us, producer, director, writer, brilliant creator, documentarian, award-winning filmmaker, and journalist.
And mom, you forgot mom.
I didn't forget mom. Which is like, how do we do this? How do we ever do this and succeed and create and be mom? So virtual high five to you for all of it. And welcome to CooLife Podcast.
Thank you, Eva, for having me. I'm so happy that you've invited me on your show. I'm a very big fan, so I'm really excited to be here tonight. And I just want to congratulate the All England team in the World Cup soccer, the English women. You guys played brilliantly. Congratulations to Spain for the win.
There we go. Yeah. Yes. Amazing. Actually amazing bit of news in the world of sports. And of course that matters to you. You are in London, England right now, aren't you?
I am. Yes. I moved here almost about a year ago.
Right. So, I mean, you are Canadian who went to the filmmaking headquarters of the world, Hollywood, conquered and defeated them there, and then went to Paris, France, and then London, England. Like, do you enjoy the travel, or do you like having diverse home settings, or is it both?
So I wouldn't say it's that I enjoy obviously I enjoy the travel. Everybody enjoys travel. But originally I was not doing what I set out to do in Canada. And it turned out that my husband made more money in the States than both of us together. So we left a long time ago. So we moved for the job. And then, COVID hit and Paris was a bucket list and all these other things. So I just decided it's time. And as you know, London's been on the brain for years. So it's just been like, okay, it's time to go.
Amazing.
Time to pack it up and pack it in.
Yeah. A lot of people, they'll have their bucket list, they'll hope and dream and wish, and do they get to it? So good for you, because it's amazing to know that, it's inspiring for me to know that you just make a plan, you execute it, and you're living that dream. So good for you.
Thank you.
You are definitely an outspoken, brave lady. And I wonder, was there a turning point when you went from being something other than outspoken to realizing that this is a world where you want to be an outspoken person to meet your goals?
I don't know if I am outspoken per se. When I speak, I try to speak with purpose, and I try to have my words have meaning at all times. So, just going to law school and being a mom and being a woman working in media and in film, I think that it's important that my voice be heard, but also I think it's important that I use my platform in a way that is constructive to my goals, but also to the feminist movement. So outspoken, maybe not, but I definitely speak up, shall we say?
Certainly your actions have said a lot just in what you've achieved. And, a moment ago, I referred to you as brave. Absolutely, you're brave. You have received a lot of acclaim and recognition and awards for your recent documentary short film, Ukraine War in the Eyes of Refugees. And congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. It's so inspiring. But I also know, during a war, you went to a war zone and made this documentary. And how do you find that bravery to do that? definitely walking to a place where there are guns and bombs and death?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. So I don't know if there was any brevity involved. Like it was just something that I felt like I had to do, and I felt like the story of the Ukraine refugees needed to be told from a different side of an angle that was not Hollywood related, with all the boom and the special effects and everything. And so I felt that, you know, as a female director, as a female filmmaker, that maybe I could tell the story from a different perspective. And there were times when I was in the war zone where we absolutely felt unsafe. You know, there were incidences with the Ukrainian police, the Russian police, the military. There were a couple of times where there were guns in my face, and you know, even some times where I experienced racism. But overall, the things I did to bring this movie to life, they were important, and it was a struggle and it was challenging, but it's a really great film that everybody should see.
It's actually really inspiring, groundbreaking that you could go there just in the really fresh early months of the war, and knowing that you were there representing voices of people who were directly affected, whose lives were turned completely upside down, being families, children, the refugees. And even just getting there, like what were the nuts and bolts of the logistics of how did you coordinate travel to the Ukraine border?
So there's not too much I can talk about because they could be potential security issues. And as you know, I am going to Yemen back and forth for the next 2 years because I'm doing a docu-series on Yemen, and it's a 10-part series. And because of that, I don't want to get into too much of the security issues just because this could be an ongoing thing and it could be something that could essentially affect my future security in Yemen and also possibly in Ukraine when we go back and do the follow-up and do our part 2 of this fabulous film. But I will say this, we entered Ukraine legally with visas, which were issued to us from the Ukrainian government, and we entered through land through one of the neighboring countries.
Okay, I see. And I understand and respect for your future safety and everyone involved, that there's only so much you can say about that. And, you know, still, you know, bravo to you and all of the people working with you to make those arrangements. It's impressive, amazing. Now,
thank you.
Oh no, you are very welcome. Thank you. Now, nobody makes a film on their own. I mean, yeah, sure, you can grab a camera and you put your old sound system into a little backpack and away you go. But you actually had a crew with you, and how did you wrangle the crew and say, "Hey, we're going. There's a war. Hey, we're going to the war zone. Get in the van." How did you?
So there was some interesting parts, actually. That's a very interesting question because we lost part of our crew at the beginning. There were a few people who just they bailed last minute, and then we lost our director of photography because when he was trying to enter, he had all the visas. And I don't really want to say this, but essentially what ended up happening is when he went, he traveled all the way from South Africa, stopped in Istanbul, Turkey, went to Dubai, then flew from Dubai back to Istanbul and then to Romania. And then he was supposed to enter with us to the Ukraine, and then they wouldn't let him in Romania. They just said, "Nope, sorry, you're not coming in." But he had every paperwork, all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed, and there was no reason for him not to go in, so he didn't. But it was interesting, and we just had to wing it and use the crew members that we had at the time.
Course. It's amazing. I mean, obviously their hearts were in it, and for your DOP to have to do a circuitous trip to try to get to there to meet up with you, obviously dedicated and wanted to meet the same goal you did. So
yeah,
his heart was there. And again, the end result with the team that you had that pulled together is amazing. It's got international recognition and acclaim. So we're going to talk more about you, your filmmaking, your projects, and your documentary, Ukraine War in the Eyes of Refugees. We're going to take a little break and talk about our sponsors, and we'll go more into your filmmaking when we get back at CooLife Podcast.
Cool. Thank you.
Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1. And that was our conversation with Olivia Puff, producer and director. Up next, we have Bruce Hunter, comedian, writer, producer, director, actor, and all-around amazing man and environmentally sensitive human being. So we're going to have a look back at that really fun jaunt that we had with Bruce Hunter on CooLife Podcast. And now, a scene from the motion picture Good Will Hunting. This is a scene between comedian and actor Bruce Hunter in the role of the NSA agent and Matt Damon in the role of Will Hunting. Robert Talvano is silent in this scene as an NSA officer.
So why do you think I should work for the National Security Agency?
Well, you'd be working on the cutting edge. You'd be exposed to the kind of technology that you wouldn't see anywhere else because we've classified it. Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithms.
Code breaking.
Well, that's one aspect of what we do.
Oh, come on. I mean, that is what you do. You guys handle 80% of the intelligence workload. You're 7 times the size of the CIA.
And now, please join in on part 1 of my 2-part conversation with Bruce Hunter. Actor, comedian, writer, producer, director, painter, and a kind and gentle human being. Gemini Award winner for Best Individual or Ensemble Performance for Atomic Betty. Nominated for Canadian Comedy Award for Writing, and nominated for another Gemini Award for Puppets Who Kill Best Ensemble Performance. Welcome back to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and our guest continuing today, Mr. Bruce Hunter. Actor, comedian, writer, director, teacher, philosopher,
Philosopher,
producer,
right.
So much more, and so much, 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 much more. So for the career that you've been enjoying,
Yeah.
you have seen, the burgeoning opening of a career where you discovered you were in demand and got to the point where you were working on some of the best productions available in any country. What would you identify as the differences that you see between your early part of your career, or the maybe smaller production values, and what that's like when you're working on the big Hollywood produced show?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been on sets, obviously, you
Mhm.
know what it's like. I mean, it doesn't seem that different, like you don't really know the difference until after the thing has been produced and people react to it. Then you kind of see what you got yourself into in a way, because up to that point,
Interesting.
like, pardon me?
It's interesting.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean,
until
like,
after it comes out, and then you'll see the
well, because
reactions.
all
Okay.
trailers look alike,
Okay.
you know,
Mhm.
all scripts look like paper with writing on them until somebody does something with it, right? It's the, you show me a 120-page script, it doesn't look any different than any other 120-page script till I open it up and start reading it. And even if it's a good script, doesn't mean that it'll ever become anything unless all the other elements fall into place. So you don't know. I could be in a small production of something that somebody's done, and it doesn't really look that much different than a big production, depending on what day you're there shooting it. You might be out in a field where there's
Sometimes,
lots of vehicles and stuff, and other times you're in a tiny little room.
but when there's a lot of money in a production, when
Mm-hmm.
there's you know, I mean, the snacks are different. The dressing rooms
Well,
are
not always. I
different.
mean, you'd think, I mean, they all buy their snacks from the same corner store, or, the place that they get, so nothing's really that different. It's, you might see a famous person on set, and that doesn't always happen, but you might see or you have a good scene, you get to do a scene with one of the stars in the show, but you're still being driven over there by a guy in a vehicle. You know what I mean? It doesn't, or you have to walk or take the train or whatever it is that you have to do to get to
See,
that
now
thing. But once
that's
you're
one
in that
difference.
room,
There's a big difference between walking and taking a
no, I
train.
know, but once you're in that room, it's always the same.
Right.
It's a guy with a camera and another actor, possibly, and that's it. I mean, for example, in Good Will Hunting, when we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who uh, most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars.
That was the start of some important careers that were happening in front of your eyes. I mean,
Absolutely.
do you feel that you could sense a certain amount of ability and talent and conduct in those young performers who were about to make a big impact on the industry?
Well, you wouldn't know. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, in that particular case, it's different because there was famous people that were involved in the production of it,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So it was sort of and it's a major film, so there is some differences that going into it,
Sure.
but you never know what's going to take. I mean, even it's when a lot of the things fall into place that they, and who knows if that movie would have won awards in another year if it was up against other films that might have been, dealing with more important issues. There might have been a film about residential schools, or some might have been a movie that everybody loved because it said something. And if you're competing with that in the same year, you might not have got an Academy Award.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of elements that take place within. I don't want to say it didn't deserve an Oscar, but a lot of times people's careers, movies, and all this kind of stuff they happen because a lot of the things fall into place.
Right. Well, I
for it to
mean,
happen.
even you could an NBA finals, right? One team up against another. One team is a pretty competitive team, stumbles along the way in their season, and they don't get to live to see the day in the final. They can take down the team that should be taken down, and they hand the crown to someone else. That's a kind of a formula that I guess exists when you have a battle of kings, a battle of highly talented people in whatever their field, I guess the timing is everything. If that film is
because I'm sure there is incredible films out there that even like young filmmakers have made, and then things didn't go in their favor. That film is still out there, and it's a brilliant film, but they didn't get the accolades that they deserved at the time because the things weren't in place for that to happen. But that doesn't diminish the film any further. It's just part of the whole picture, that they didn't get at that time. But there's lots of stuff out there that you when you look at it, you go, why didn't this get nominated? Or why haven't people not seen this? This is an incredible film. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there too, right?
Well,
but
it's a fluid thing, right? Because
it is fluid.
It has to do with opinions and feelings, and it's an emotional industry. I mean, in a sport, you score a point, there you are. You're up against that other team, you're ahead. But did you make someone laugh?
It's in those particular cases, a goal is a goal,
right?
But in the creative world, you've got people voting for this stuff. It's like figure skating. You've got judges. It's not as easy as 3 goals and you win the game. There's no denying it. They do.
In figure skating, they do have to execute certain moves, but the weight of the score, if everyone's doing the same move, doing like a triple sow cow or whatever, right?
It's somebody that does it just a little bit better,
right?
Or they hit the marks or whatever, and then it's based on that. But even that, there's still favoritism. There's still patriotism that goes involved in that. It's hard to avoid those kind of things when you're choosing things. But in the film business, there is tons of people that are members that vote, that vote on things, and
it's like a political campaign. You've got to campaign and push for a person too, and get them in other people's faces, right?
Exactly. I mean, when you get into the Oscar season, everybody starts putting out ads,
right,
for their guys,
for your consideration.
For your consideration.
For an Oscar.
I've never even thought of that guy being in that. Wow, he was really good in that.
Mark Damon, Matt, what? Yeah.
And then of course, decision, like all of a sudden somebody does a film and then they're rocketed into stardom. Yeah. They're now a star, and that's the other thing is the perpetual trying to maintain that.
Right.
That's a problem, because people have to try to maintain that lifestyle, that place they are in. Right. And I think that becomes a really difficult thing. Same thing with musicians. You go through a miserable life trying to be a musician, and you're working on your stuff, and you write an awesome album because all the pain that you've gone through created this amazing album. So now you're a star because you've got this amazing album. What do you do next?
Right.
Like, is your next album going to be as heartfelt as, or are you trying to recreate that pain to try to be able to write like that? Or do you even understand what is the impetus that made you that great?
Now that you're a star and you're not in pain, you're not in the subway dragging around your bass guitar. You've got a limo.
Yeah, exactly. So what is the thing that you understand about it, that is the thing? Now, if you're writing to try to sustain to be that level of artist all the time, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it because it means something to you, and who cares what anybody else thinks? You've got to do it because it matters to you, and other people will hopefully see that. But if you're trying to make something because you need to stay, have your fancy car fixed up, or whatever, or live in that bigger house, then that's when you see artists become bland and uninteresting.
But I
Like
mean,
you care.
does everyone do it? Dentists, it's like they gotta keep up with their totals, so that they can, keep that car and that house and you keep the family living the life that they've gotten used to. It's like, how many fillings do we need
Yeah.
to do this week?
It's
But
ego again,
yeah, right.
I mean,
But
when
with
you
an
think of like
artist,
the like Schitt's Creek, for example,
right?
when you think of the characters in Schitt's Creek, I mean, it's basically Green Acres in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a country, going out to the country, you're meeting the country bumpkins and trying to have the rich, high class sensibilities in a small town.
Right. And
It's
you're in that production, you performed, you were able to see from the inside out, again, a highly successful, dream come true as far as a TV series. Anybody in the industry, that's what they are looking for. But again, because it's an art needs an audience as part of its justification for its existence. That if a tree falls in a forest, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like, did this actually get heard or observed? Or, if you just put the production on for the sake of itself, that isn't enough. And in fact, it's
Well,
a
like
very
when people
selfish
try
thing
to
to do.
recreate a show, like, so for example, there was a number of years where Modern Family was the show that everybody wanted you to, like, when you went in to pitch a TV show, they would always say to you, well, we're looking for a Modern Family.
Right.
Well, there's already a Modern Family. It's called Modern Family. Have you seen it? So what you're looking for, what
By the
you
way.
want, is them to take a chance on a new show and give it that kind of backing that Modern Family had when it started, or some of these other shows, which they don't, because now what they want to do is they want a Modern Family. So they want you to create a version of Modern Family because they know that works.
Right.
But they don't understand why it works. They just know that works. Let's make that. Let's create that. Let's recreate that. That's why you get other shows that are similar to it.
Yeah.
That's why you see a whole years and years of the show of the family unit.
Right. Yeah.
Doing a show, mom, dad, the idiot son, the all in the family kind of attitude.
Right.
Well,
I mean, I think that started
recreate
back
that
with Leave It to Beaver, and that started like way back, that they realized this works, right?
Yeah.
And
And then when they realized that they could mess with that structure, then the new things are born, like Family Guy and The Simpsons, or in the reverse of that, The Simpsons and Family Guy. But those are they're making fun of that. And then you got all the list of other shows that are exactly like that. They have the husband who's works at a post office, and the wife who's, what I mean? And they got that one room that they come into and everybody applauds when they enter into the room. It's
Dick Van Dyke Show.
The Dick Van Dyke Show,
Yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
It's all, they know the format so well, and that's, and then they just plug something in and think it's going to work, and it doesn't always work. Because there's so many other little elements.
It doesn't always work, but the thing is, it could work with good writing, right? I mean, here in Canada, we've had things like King of Kensington, right, which went on for a beautiful work. Al Waxman had given work to people for decades because of having a formula that works. Using that platform as a springboard of what is a situation of family and people that care about each other, and make us laugh, make us cry, or put it on its head and call it the Addams Family, right? And but it works, and I guess that's the easy way out.
But it doesn't always work. It works in the technical side of it all works. But what makes it better is when there is a bunch of different individuals that we like those people. Like, for example, I was reading an article about Happy Days.
Okay, right.
And they're talking about, when the first Happy Days came out, the Fonz wasn't in it. Right. Once the Fonz got involved in the show, once they brought his character in, all of a sudden it became even more interesting. People started loving that character. right? Loved him as an actor playing that role. They could have had a different guy in playing that Fonzie role, and it might not have worked.
Right.
You know, but because those elements that get entered into it, it may look exactly the same. It may look exactly, the format's the same. Even the jokes might be the same, but it's the people in it that make the difference. You give a guitar to a guy and say, play this, and you give the same guitar and ask the guy to play, give it to a different guitarist and ask him to play the same thing. That's the difference.
Right.
Is they might play the same thing, but it's the spirit of that actor or that musician that makes it special. You know?
But you see, that's a perception. That's a perception, and it needs an audience for that perception. And that's where it'll be like why being a performer is always going to be a little bit different from dentistry. Because, you're going to fix a tooth is a tooth.
When Jimi Hendrix played the Star Spangled Banner, nobody'd heard the Star Spangled Banner like that before.
Right.
Nobody even thought of it. You see this guy do this incredible thing, it becomes iconic, right? Because he's doing it. You could have had somebody else play it with a guitar and nobody would have given half a about it. But and that's the moment. That's when all the things sort of happen at the right time. Yeah. Because it's that person is there for when that's supposed to happen, and that's why they're part of that thing. So that's part of the reason why it doesn't all become about that person, but it also becomes part of the events around it.
Right.
The people watching, the people open for that, interested in that, want that, they want the Fonz. They're open for that.
That unique combination of the whole Happy Days cast, and yet having the Arthur Fonzarelli character join that cast. Oh yes, I have seen that show a time or two, but I actually know the character's name and had a big crush on him in my younger years. Why not? But that came at the right time when people were nostalgic for the 50s, right? And there was a time when you go to stores and for some reason poodle skirts were back, the big wide skirts with a poodle on it and the saddle shoes. There was a thing going on. They brought back cat's eye glasses, and they had all these retro shops that sprung up in big cities.
I mean, look at all these shows that they've tried to bring back, the show might have been successful years ago, and then they try to bring it back thinking that it's going to be an easy fit. Right. We're going to bring this show back, and look how many of those kind of shows fail, because
Will and Grace, Degrassi.
There are elements about it. Yeah, there are elements of it that aren't there.
Yeah.
You just can't take the ingredients and throw them back in there and think you're going to get the same kind of thing. No, there's so many other things that are going on. Yeah, like other, the sensibilities of people that are watch it, the clients that buy it, the people that are watching it, the what's going on in the world around it. All of those things are elements that play into it, that give it its success or its failure. Right. Depending on what happens.
Well, Will and Grace happened at a time when it was groundbreaking in itself, right?
Yeah.
People were not. It's almost like it needed to be there while people were not ready for it, and the world has changed so much. There is such. You look back on it and you think, wow, we were so unevolved at that time, and having that type of entertainment was almost like one of the stepping stones towards that wider conversation of why aren't we more evolved? And now we get to such a point where we are so evolved that when they bring the show back, and it's kind of like, yeah,
we're already past it. We've already gone past it. Right. It's not as groundbreaking.
No.
Because we've already established it. We get it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to bring stuff back, because
they had good writers, obviously fantastic performers, and it just somehow didn't have its staying power. and you get something like Will and Grace coming back and saying it deserves to stay, but it couldn't, right? It wasn't ringing the same bell the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Because people move on. People's sensibilities move on. There's a flood of influences, of things all around them that they're not there ready for. That's the same thing of why shows get all of a sudden canceled. Some event happens and then everybody goes, oh, why was I laughing at that before? Because this thing happened and so people sort of change their mind about stuff.
Right.
And that's why stars, sometimes they're a star and the next day nobody wants to hire them.
But if I say that this was such a show, such a great show, such great writers. I mean, you've seen it from both sides of the camera and saying, okay, this is a formula that's working, but the inception of that formula that's working as a writer. Like if we go back, say, to Schitt's Creek, where that formula worked all over the place, the writing, the performing, everything, right? Costumes. Oh my God, please. I'd like to buy some of those costumes. Like,
right.
Like being within that whole milieu of such a stellar production, can you sense that when you're walking on the set? Can you sense that what you're working with is like comedic genius?
Well, you can sense it when you go onto a show that is doing well, that it's already successful,
right?
Because there is an ease to it.
And that was our look back at our visit from Bruce Hunter. And before we take a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters, we're going to hear a song from Jon Stewart, our favorite guest. This is his song, I Want to Get You Alone, on CooLife Podcast.
I want to get you alone with all of your misery. I want to get you alone with all of your mystery. I want to get you alone like we're always dancing. I want to get you alone. I'm tired
Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is CooLife Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to CooLife on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be right back. And we're back. We're back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John. And up next on this Look Back episode, we have Sal K. He is a content creator, gamer, and partner on Facebook. How many partners do you know on Facebook? I don't know about you, but I know one. And I'll tell you, I'm so thoroughly impressed with his excellent gameplay, his winning personality. He is a family man who cares about his content, and I am so proud to have him as a guest. And so myself, along with his 1.4 million followers on Facebook alone, really do enjoy his gameplay. As a person who really believes, yes, you've got to take time to use your mind and read some books, it's nice to know that the gamer that you're supporting is someone who has the same philosophy and over and above is very community oriented. And so let's look at our visit from Sal K on CooLife Podcast. In this episode, Facebook gaming champion, public figure, and content creator Sal K joins us for an in-depth discussion on how he traded in a lucrative career to become an esports phenomenon. Trigger warning, animated gunplay is shown briefly after the second commercial break and again at the very end of this episode.
La noche no espera, estoy aquí afuera, bailando pegado a ti. Y siento
Just get to the door. I'll do what I can to stop from closing. See you on the other side.
estoy que no aguanto más, más. Yo quiero amarte tanto más.
And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John. Today we have our guest, Sal. I'm so excited. I know I'm being ridiculous, but I'm telling you, my heart is in it. I love watching you play. And I'm so honored that you're joining us here on CooLife. Welcome.
Well, I love the enthusiasm, first of all. And secondly, it's an honor. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to me. I really appreciate it. And it's my first video podcast. So there you go.
Wow.
You'll have the rights to it.
I'm telling you, this is like so fantastic to have you here. And, you know, for anyone who has not encountered the gaming done by Sal, this is definitely a unique combination of a highly skilled gamer who has just the nicest online personality and offline personality I've grown to discover. And so this is a real treat. Now I've got to ask, because you have such an interesting history, I wonder, Sal, what was the very first video game that you ever played?
So the very first video game I played was in childhood when we got Ataris and Sega. So I don't remember the name of the game that I played on the Ataris because I was too young. But when we got a Sega, I remember it was Street Fighter. So Street Fighter is where my memory starts off from.
Right.
And that is the first video game I believe that's an electronic video game as well that I played. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's amazing. That's a very famous name in gaming, Street Fighter. And knowing that you've gone so far with it, could you tell? Did you have like a real skill and winning record when you were playing Street Fighter?
Actually, no. So I was never a professional gamer. I'm actually a stockbroker, investment banker. So that is what my focus was. Gaming was something I did with my brother or with my family, with my kids or something or the other later on, but never to the point where I thought I could actually be so, I could be so successful and not just being successful, making, in a way, making your hobby or like something you play for fun into a revenue generating business of some sort and entertaining people at the same time. So it's like a mix of a lot of things.
Oh, for sure. The fact that it's come
I
together.
wasn't a gamer.
No,
Yeah,
really.
so I was not a gamer, and it all just started from my son's iPad, to be very honest. I was bored. It was recession. I was bored, and I just started playing PUBG on his iPad. And rather than playing, I was more of a collector, so I used to spend a lot of money on the skins, and that's how the journey started. That's back in 2018 when I started playing, and 2019 when I came into the streaming thing. Yeah.
That's not so long ago. And I guess we should all thank your son that he opened the door of opportunity and so much enjoyment. And I know for some people, some people don't quite connect to, okay, well, you enjoy video games. Why are you watching someone instead of playing? But there is actually an enormous amount of enjoyment watching someone play and play with skill, whatever game you're playing. Now, you actually have over 1 million followers on Facebook. You've got 1.4 million followers. Last time I checked, that number keeps going up. And I am aware of the fact that that's kind of a reboot. You've done a reboot on your profile. So like technically you've probably had like 3-4 times that amount, just that you've restarted. And the fact that you're touching so many people and you've got so many followers who are interested in what you do, like when did you realize that you had this kind of impact on so many people watching you?
Is the view count that brings in the motivation, to be very honest. I did initially when I started streaming, I did not even have 3 people. And that's how it went on like that, 3 to 10 people. That went on for a couple of days, actually months. Not months, but maybe quarter to a month or half a month or somewhere, to that point. And then it just, the numbers started growing. Made a couple of friends, people started sharing the stream. So that actually played a vital role because Facebook is all about, when it says connecting people, it's all about, there are 2 things how they connect you. So you are connected either with your friends and family, which is a social aspect. And the other aspect is that if someone shares my stream, what happens is that they actually sharing it with their friends. Right. So if they have like, let's say 200 friends and just 10 of them even pop in, or even 5 of them pop in, and one of them shares. So it's like a roller coaster, like a thing. It just keeps going on and on and on. And that's how you actually are exposed.
Yeah.
Well, that's really works out.
That is truly exponential growth. And just like, of course, being a stockbroker, of course, you're going to understand that whole idea of an investment and watching that growth. And it is like an investment in connections and the number of people who watch. I mean, I know I, for one, would be up at 5 a.m., depending on the day of the week, watching you play. And so that's a global thing. And there's a beautiful aspect of it I enjoy, where you just switch, from English and you just continue into a different language and everyone is welcome. And I think that's a really unifying force that we're enjoying on Facebook, watching you game. Now, I've got to say, you have seen every aspect of this, what it's like to be a gamer, what it's like to be a professional man and a family man. Do you feel that in gaming you have transferable skills that, whether that's in your reflexes, do you see that pay off somewhere when you're driving, when you're playing soccer? Do you see that?
I think driving, I would be a better driver on the road than in gaming. I have better control.
Okay.
As for in terms of sports, I'm not a big sports guy, to be very honest. I here and there sometimes, I'll watch something or the other. Tennis is something I like to watch. It's a game I like. But in terms of me, I feel like aims. So I go to shooting ranges,
Right.
and believe me, when the first time I started off, I did not know that I'm going to hit so well.
Mm.
And that actually was because of all the aiming that I have done for the past 4 years.
Right.
So there is a proper, you can actually go to shooting ranges and have competition, going on over there as well. And that's a sports as well.
Right.
So I've recently started doing that. That was because of a situation as well. But due to that, I figured out, wow, I didn't know that in real life it would be this. It would help me. Yes, in reflexes, sound. I've become very, very because in the game we have to hear footsteps, and those footsteps tell us which side the person is going to come in from. Is he coming in from the back? Is he coming in from the front? Or if we're in the house, the footsteps are roaming around he's roaming around trying to, find a way to come to you, or you going to him. So that made my senses more, my hearing senses more. My reflexes were, I mean, they were pretty good.
I wonder, will you take a second to show me two things? One would be this amazing mural. If you can tell me about that mural, I see the Facebook F on it just to your right. And then after, if you can show us that a spectacular view again that you showed earlier of what's on the other side of you. But can you tell me about the mural?
So the buildings, and that comes in from the downtown Miami and New York aspect.
Right. And you lived in Miami. I mean, you're definitely an international jet setter because you're in South Asia, you're in North America, and you basically own the world the way you want to. And so that's really, really cool. It's reflected in this unique, one-of-a-kind graffiti art.
And then we've got our sponsors. So
Right.
these are the people who have actually sponsored me for peripherals, or mainly for computer hardware and my computers, because I have one of the most unique. Let me transition into the other mode so I could show you. So
For sure.
we were lucky enough I was lucky enough to be sponsored by multiple brands. So those are some of the brands that are bannered. The banners, if you see on the road, or billboards, if you could say, those are actually my sponsors. And I had to actually increase them because I have a couple of more sponsors that came in, and they made this possible.
Wow. And you can do shout outs for them if you want.
Yes. So we had Asus, we had Aorus Gigabyte, we had Thermal Take, we had Waterblock, Waterblocks from EK. We had Thermal Take stuff coming in. We had Trident Z. We had for our RAMs. I mean, we had Seagate for our hard disks. These are not normal PCs.
No.
And believe me, in where I am right now, these PCs are not even easily available. Nobody wants to touch them. You want to have something like this, you are the mechanic of it, or the person who builds it for you.
Right.
And that is the biggest role. And the shout out goes to the guy that's over there, says IFR in green, in the billboard, because he's a YouTuber. He's one of a very fine YouTubers. His name is Designs by IFR, and the guy is Corey. And I approached him back in 2020. And I told him who I am and, and stuff. And he is in Australia. And he made these two beautiful pieces for me that are filled with water coolants, just like in a car. So you have your own coolants in a car. These pieces are filled up with coolants for PCs.
Okay. Wow.
And that is how they make them cool. And making them in an open way. The first one was the basic in a box. The second one, I wanted an open PC. And it took a lot of effort and time. And each component over here is worth thousands of dollars that I have been sponsored by all these people. And that
Amazing.
all could have not happened without Corey. I believe in this one aspect where I feel that you should give credit to people who have helped you out.
Great.
You should.
I'm going to be grateful forever. And I want you to know that you have an open invitation anytime you want to be back on the CooLife podcast, if you have ever anything you want to
Definitely
announce, for sure. And today I want to say thank you from CooLife podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John, and we're going to rock on out of here. Bye.
Implosion warning. Siddharth bhai, how are you doing? मेरी स्ट्रीम पे देखें, आपको नजर आएगा. इंट्रो जो बनाया है बहुत चिकना इंट्रो है. वेलकम. हेलो रिंकेश. हेलो एवरीबॉडी. व्हाट्स अप? कौन सा जहाज?
अच्छा नहीं खड़े हो एक चमका लाना दिख जाएगा और मूव करना.
ओह यस. जी जी.
मेरे पास
हाँ ओके मैंने कर दिया था.
चलो नाइस.
शिमला राज, हेलो हाउ आर यू? चल निकल. चल गाड़ी में चल. ओ शॉट. वो ग्रीन बुलेट्स मिल गई. मर गए सारे. क्या हुआ है? Nimsha, thank you for coming in. Let me give a shout out to all the lovely star senders who have been generous sending me all the stars. Khanna bhai is at the top with 20,000 stars. Big massive shout out to Khanna bhai. Thank you so much. Dilip bhai with the 5,000 stars. Thank you so much once.
मेरे पास
And that was our look at our visit from South K. Up next, our visit with Dennis Kowalski, president of the Cryonics Institute in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this is where people, in the hope of being revived in the future, allow themselves to be cryonically preserved after they have passed away. And so it's a little bit different. And here's a look at our visit with Dennis Kowalski on CooLife. And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and today we're with our special guest, Dennis Kowalski. He's the president of the Cryonics Institute in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dennis.
Thanks for having me, Eva.
I'm so glad that you're here to join us. And the subject of cryonics, for those who have heard about it and seen talk of it in sci-fi movies and so on, and here's a chance to really know what the facts are. So in a nutshell, Dennis, can you say what exactly is cryonics?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about cryonics. But in a nutshell, I'll try to give you the short version. Cryonics is the process or um, scientific venture of attempting to preserve life by taking people in this time frame, transporting them to a future hospital that may or may not exist. So you say, well, how are you going to do that? Well, once people are legally dead, and I'll get into that, then we can start to freeze them down to ice temperatures, and then from ice temperatures, we make sure we do CPS, cardiopulmonary support. We inject some medications, and we ship them as fast as possible to the Cryonics Institute in Michigan. At that point, we cool them further down to dry ice temperatures, and we infuse the body with a cryoprotectant. It's like a biological antifreeze that we had developed for us. Similar, I guess, to reverse engineering what some animals and insects use to preserve their own tissues with freezing temperatures. And then we take them down to liquid nitrogen temperatures, and we put them in the containers for the long store in hopes that the future technology will someday exist to bring these people back. And so there's a lot of unpacking to do with that, and a lot of assumptions, of course, but we think that time is on our side, and history kind of, has validated us since our existence. A lot of things that we said were going to happen have happened, and it's leading to a future where this may be very viable and very possible to bring people back.
Wow. It is quite a science and technology, and to know that we are participating in that here and now. And can you tell me, when someone makes a decision that they want to participate in this for their future, what are they looking at for, like, the price ballpark? What is that investment for preserving themselves with cryonics?
Sure. So Cryonics is a nonprofit organization, and not all nonprofits are the same. Some nonprofits pay themselves fancy administrative costs. In our case, all of our records are open for public scrutiny. You can see where every single penny is spent. And our organization is mostly volunteers, kind of a skeleton staff to just do what we need to have done. And most of the money that goes into Cryonics, it currently costs $28,000. Most of that money goes into an endowment fund invested in S&P 500 index type funds. And that's what pays for the perpetual overhead. The interest on that compounding pays for the taxes, utilities, liquid nitrogen, salaries of the workers, the buildings and supplies. So a very small amount of it goes to the actual initial freezing process, and then most of it goes for the storage. And we have to do this perpetually. So we have to have enough money in a principal investment so that the endowment will pay for people going forward. We've been doing this for over 45 years with no hiccups whatsoever. No power outages, no financial hiccups, and we intend to do this for hundreds of years if need be, or however long it takes.
Amazing.
28,000 might seem like a lot. In 1976, when we started, that was our price. So adjusted for inflation, we've gone down. Whereas a funeral used to be $600. Now that's up to around 12,000 average US.
Right.
And people also use common life insurance policies to fund this. So anyone can do this.
Amazing. I do know that, globally, worldwide, there are other organizations, and they might have a starting fee around 10 times almost what you are charging. And so that's, a lot, as you were saying, that sometimes those funds are being used for increased salaries of people rather than being put back into the business. It's amazing that you have a pared down, efficient use of the funds to make it a much more workable, accessible fee. That's awesome.
Right. You might ask yourself, how many things are going down in price lately?
Right.
Not too many. So we must be doing something right. And we get internally and externally audited. anyone can look at those records and see right exactly what's going on, and we seem to be doing something right now. In a little bit of defense of other organizations, some just ask for more in anticipation that they'll need more. They run with a larger staff, higher paid staff, and also we can talk about standby, which is the process of getting a person from wherever they're at to the Chronics Institute.
Right.
And there could be fees involved with that, such as air ambulance or shipping and funeral service, medical services, and so forth. And again, it depends on where you're at in the world. It depends on all kinds of logistics and who's involved in the standby suspension as well.
So does the Cryonics Institute take care of that, the fees, the cost involved from where somebody is when they're declared having passed to the point where they are brought to storage, and that little gap in between? Is that what the fee covers, or is that something in addition to the storage services that has to be paid out by a client?
Typically, the client is responsible for point A to point B getting to us. And the reason being is, you could be a half hour outside of the Chronics Institute, or you could be on the other side of the world. And then for us to try to deal with all of the bureaucratic entities, airlines, different legal entities and so forth, we kind of set up a guide for people, and we work closely with other organizations all over the world. So like we have Chronics UK, there's an organization called ICE, International Chronics. We work with International Funeral Services, all kinds of different people all across the world.
And that was our visit with Dennis Kowalski, president of the Cryonics Institute here at CooLife Podcast. Up next, we have John Stewart, musician, recording artist, composer, and a really profound thinker when it comes to his art. A real treat to have him visit this season. And so we'll look at some highlights from our visit with John Stewart on CooLife Podcast. So John Stewart, we can just start right now. And
Sure.
I just want to welcome you to CooLife Podcast. And
thank you.
I'm so thrilled to have you here for the inaugural podcast. And I just want to say, this is a place where you're going to find a lot of love and admiration for your music. And as much as I have you here as an outstanding musician, I've got to start by asking you about the fact that you have the coolest hairstyle in rock and roll. Can you tell me, you constantly always look amazing, and you always have this surprising look. It's like we saw you last time, and then there's a slight difference. And at what point did you decide you're just not going to have your dad's hair cut?
When I was very, very small, my dad always had no hair. He lost his hair at 21. It fell in his pillow after putting some kind of formula in his hair to try and make his hair go dark, and it all fell out on him. And so I've always known my dad to have no hair. My grandfather died with a full head of hair, and oddly looked a lot like David Bowie, ironically.
Okay. So that's a cool family trait.
I've always loved, I'm a lover of fashion and a lover of visual as much as audio, my whole life.
Right.
Just, I don't know. I don't like being bored.
Well, it's part of performing, right? That
it is. It really is.
But even before, they say you got it or you ain't got it, and it's definitely something that you've got. It's just another part of your very cool way. Can you talk to us about the point at which you knew that music was going to be an important force in your life?
Yes. Now, I remember ever since I was 3 or 4 years old, where I would listen to headphones for 4 or 5 hours at a time and get lost in it, completely lost in it. I'd get lost not just in the type of songs, but I would obsess over listening to certain songs and wondering how are they doing that. How are they making that noise?
Right.
Why doesn't my guitar sound like that? And how can I make it sound like that?
Right.
Then I found a distortion pedal. I was very, very young. And I also found my love of chords. I love really good chords. I've always related music to things happening, the way the air feels that day. I could tell you almost what 1983 looked like it was yesterday.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like it's just what I mean. I relate stuff, patterns to sound and visual my entire life. That is just something I crave. I crave it. I need it in my life. I had I think maybe I had a year or two where I was not entirely sure the direction of what I was doing, and I thought they were very lonely years. And then when it came back, I mean, it was perfectly amazing, you know. And I look forward to having it in my life every day.
Please enjoy John Stewart's song "Until the Light Takes Us" with his band Holy Asylum, featuring Miss Kristen Latham on CooLife Podcast.
The fire burns.
and welcome to Cool Life Podcast. I'm Eva John, and today we have our guest, John Stewart, coming back to visit again. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Welcome. Here I am. How are you, Eva?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's so nice to have you here, and I hope all is well with you in the world of music.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Busy, very busy.
Good to know. Good to know. What's been up with you, actually? Busy man.
Busyness is rehearsing with two young lads named Joey and Jacob, two young guitar players that we've recently joined our group, and they were working on the set to prepare for shows, and they're workaholics. They're very young. They're extreme workaholics. I call them Thing 1 and Thing 2 because that is exactly what they are. You know, our bass player Peter, he's the one that we have a perfect working engine in this group. So like I'll explain to Peter what I want, and then Peter will say, Joey, Jacob, this is what you do, because they're very, very, very intelligent. They do great at what they do, but it's just the way that it works. It's a very kind of cutesy, I guess you could say. You know how it works. This is how we have this system works. It's so good. I love it.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, a band is it's a business, and
it is. Yeah.
And it has to be a well-oiled machine. It doesn't have to be a well-oiled machine, but it works better when it is, doesn't it?
It sure is. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, you know, in the business of music, you have a recent song, Naked Sacrifice.
That's right.
And yeah, I've enjoyed listening to that song for sure. And so, can you tell me, like, what was the inspiration for that song when you wrote it?
The inspiration for that one, I was in sort of butterfly mode. You gotta understand, when I was writing this, I was in planning on making some changes in life and stuff. What spawned this whole record, I guess. The inspiration was it was almost gospel-y, almost like I wanted an environment where I can have multiple people singing, and I had this melody line in my head that would not go away, and it just at the same time there was sort of there's almost a torturous sound about the song, you know. And what was going on in my life at the time that I wrote it, there was a lot of changes happening, and that made me in total like I would not, like I was explaining to you before, when I write a song, it doesn't shut off. I continuously loop in my head all the time, melody lines and stuff, and this one never went away. It was just sort of, you know, and it's a bit about a parallel universe, to be honest. It really is what it is about, and how changing from one life into the next. It's a bit that. That's
well, I'll tell you, even like with the title of it, it's quite intriguing. You know, there's some assumptions you can make in the title, but then the lyrics take you on a few different paths, and it's
sure does.
See if we can have a chance to play that a little bit later in the show and let everybody enjoy it. Now, in your songwriting, it has so many interesting twists and turns. Have you had the opportunity to collaborate in your songwriting with other artists?
My whole life, pretty much, yeah. That started from the time I was 14, I think. My friends in school and stuff. We one guy in particular. Yeah, so like there was several people that I've worked with throughout my life, collaborated with. I love collaborating on songs. I do. Songwriting is such a personal thing to me, though, that I more or less prefer it just myself. But have I worked with others? Yes. I've worked with others a lot. I spent most of my life working with others. That's why I've done mostly that. And a friend came to me once, about 10 years ago, and said, "You have to stop that. It's time to do you."
Okay.
And he he doesn't realize how much I needed that wake up call back then.
Okay.
You know, and that's sort of where I'm at now is because of that conversation.
Mm.
But yes, I've worked with a lot of other people, including Mary Fivey, who I was in for up to 15 years in that band. And even currently now, when the acoustic act I play in Between Names, we collaborate on songs together. There's that. I've been collaborating for years with artists, more or less to push their project, not my own. Now, in my current stuff, yeah, I mean there are some times where I've friends have gotten together and we could just hear something's going to happen, and so therefore I just let it happen and see what happens.
Right.
So yes, I like to more or less do things on my own, write songs on my own. I like that in my own brain. It's my it's my holy asylum. That's where I go. That's what I do.
Amazing. Well, it comes out with some beautiful results, whether you are, collaborating or now focusing more on your own homegrown writing.
Yeah.
It's definitely giving great results. And that was a look back at our visit with John Stewart on CooLife podcast. And so up next, we'll have a look at our visit with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent here at CooLife podcast. And we're here at CooLife podcast with our friend Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent, and we're going to touch on the important subject of real estate. It's amazing how many people who may think they're not ready to purchase, that's not what they want to do, and find out that for years they've been in a position where they could buy a house and just never crunched the numbers, never found out. So it's something that can be a life-changing event, one of the biggest and most important purchases in many people's lives. And so I'm glad that we've got you here today, Vittoria.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here and to share.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you're bringing your wealth of experience, your life experience, your knowledge of people, and that we can take a look at some of the important things and maybe, lesser important things or things that people brush aside when they're looking at purchasing. For the abilities of a real estate agent to negotiate, is that really a skill they need anymore now that you've got such in-depth appraisals that happen? And I mean, an appraisal is an appraisal, but now it's like, you see, they come in with all kinds of equipment, giving you all kinds of history on that house that you just never know otherwise. And does that kind of like lock in the price that, that is the value, or do you really need to negotiate anymore?
Oh, your negotiation skills are so essential. They ultimately influence the outcome. And you really need to bring that to the table with your clients because you're looking out for their best interest. And not every deal is the same. So your negotiation skills are really going to help you with that. We negotiate things like not only the price, obviously, but you can negotiate the closing costs, you can negotiate the furniture, you can negotiate repairs. So those negotiation skills are going to help you and really serve your clients well. And so you really need to hone on those negotiation skills and make sure that you're really working to improve them and find different ways, because it's really actually fun sometimes, when you can negotiate and then you come through, you're bringing that to the table and you're helping your client negotiate. Let's say there's a piece of furniture that the sellers don't want to take, or I should say rather that they do want to take, but your clients really like it and they'd really love to have it in the home. And so you approach the sellers and the seller's agent, and I can help them get this piece of furniture that they had their eye on. And yeah, so always negotiation, influences the outcome for sure.
That's kind of cool that something like furniture or something that's a personal item can be a part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any really tough negotiations so far?
The one sale that I recently did in June, I sold a house for a client, and the house was on the market for a long time. When we had offers coming in, there was certain negotiations that the buyers wanted, and the seller was hoping, not to give up so much.
Well, you're saying that they both have a goal. One wants to sell, one wants to buy, but then it's like the owner of the property, if it's been on the market for a long time, they're seeing a lot more value in the property. I guess they have more emotional connection to the property. They know the work they've put into it, making it the way it looks at that point. Whereas someone
Yes.
walks up and they don't see, oh, you guys spent 3 months working on that bathroom. You could only use the basement bathroom for 3 months while you changed every tile. They can't see all that labor and all that love. They can't see the good memories and the experiences that, I guess, increase that price tag for the owner. And for the buyer, they're just seeing, the walls. They're just seeing, front yard. They don't see all of that. So they may not want to pay for that love in the house.
Right. And I remember getting a call from one of the agents who had brought an offer, and this agent thought that we were overpriced by a lot, and said, you've had it on the market for a long time. And I said, yeah, but our clients aren't in a rush. They can hold on to this. He started to compare it to a house that was just 2 doors down. And I said, yeah, I actually went to that house and walked through the house. And so I'm really familiar with it. And in comparison to my client's house, this is what we have. And so I started to give him the benefits or the features that the other house didn't have, where the one feature that the other house had that people were really interested in was that it was open concept when you walk in, right? So that's a big thing right now. People like that open concept. My client's house didn't have that. Their house had more walls on the main floor. However, I had to remind the other agent that the kitchen, for example, in the other house didn't have an island, whereas my client's house had an island. Therefore, it looks smaller, but the actual kitchens were the same. They both were a U shape, except my clients had an island, which made it look a little smaller. But in actual fact, they were the same size kitchens. So things like that,
Of course. And
yeah,
that's the whole
and
reason
so
people take walls down, because it gives you that illusion that when you're in the kitchen looking into the dining area and then beyond that into the living room, it almost feels like that is a part of your space. And no, it's not. It's not a part of your space. You're just looking into where your family is ignoring you and watching TV.
Right.
They're chopping onions, but you kind of feel like you're a part of it. No, you're not. And it's not a bigger room. But it's interesting that, look, it's a psychological thing, right? It makes you feel that you're a part of something bigger in that house plan. But the nice point, really, to say that they had the same size kitchen. So yeah. And we are back. Yeah. Welcome back to CooLife Podcast. This is Eva John, and I am sitting with Victoria Galone, and we're talking about real estate. And I want to know, Victoria, when you have your clients and they're ready to sell, can you tell them like the most effective changes that they can make to their home? I know you'd mentioned some decor, etc., but when someone wants to get the most value out of a home they've been in for a while, what are the value added steps that a homeowner can take?
So value added. So when you're selling, there's a couple of things, right? One, a lot of times people might say, we talked about decluttering and doing some staging, because staging and price. Work with your agent to establish a price. A lot of times people, again, get emotional and they're thinking, this is the value to me. This is my house. This is my value, right? But that might not necessarily be true in regards to the climate at the time, or the what other houses just sold for or will be selling. So you really need to be you need to trust your agent to make sure that they're doing the right comparative analysis to be able to bring you a proper pricing, right? So that could help. A lot of times, what happens is somebody will say, nope, I want this price. This is the price. Even though I show them the prices in the area or what's sold in the last couple of months, recent things, right? So when you do that and then they still say, nope, I want it priced at this price. Okay, so that's what we do. And we wait a couple of months. And after a couple of months, they're like, we're not getting any bites. What's happening? Right. And most times, it's the price. So we revisit that. And then again, we might come down $20,000. And sure enough, then you start getting the bids or the offers coming in, right? So you have to, if you're a serious seller, pay attention to the price, work with your agent, and make sure that they're giving you a lot of the comparative analysis. That's really important. But also, make sure that, sometimes I hear people say, well, this agent told me that I have to renovate my kitchen. I have to do this. You get your big bang for your buck is if you do things like changing the color, painting something more neutral, using a neutral color paint. Sometimes you just have to fix that leaky faucet. Make sure that you clean the grout. So things like that don't really cost a lot. I mean, you can change the countertop, for example. It'll cost you maybe a couple $100, but you will get, when you just make minor repairs and changes, you'll get 85% of your money. So if you're doing those minor repairs as opposed to a mammoth renovation, it's better to stick to those. You don't necessarily need to do big renovations to sell your house.
Okay. Things that would have an impact from what you've described, if they're doing small things and just saying that, okay, so the grout, meaning that's that's what the plaster that people see in between the tiles or whatever.
Yes.
Mostly everyone knows what grout, but that's what we're referring to when we say grout,
right?
Like bathroom tiles.
Yes.
And so that little, that cementy stuff, I guess if it looks like creepy crawly,
yes.
if it's green and gray, and
yes.
Then like bleach that out or regrout or freshen it in whichever way. Sure, then that can give a fresh look to a bathroom. And I know they always say kitchens and bathrooms sell homes, so that if you hear someone wants to renovate and you say, well, it doesn't have to be a renovation, it can just be an improvement.
Right. So you don't always have to make these major, when you're selling your house, you're not selling your house, you're selling your kitchen. Everyone's looking at your kitchen.
Right.
So, but again, you don't have to do a huge renovation. You can simply paint out your cupboards, change the hardware on your cupboards. Here's a good tip. You can buy one more expensive appliance, and then, just one. Why one? Because when they see the one KitchenAid, they assume that all of them are going to be that they've all been upgraded, right? So something like that, so there's tips and tricks. I mean, because a lot of times, and again, it's making sure that, let's say your kitchen is depersonalized, but also neutral. So whoever comes into your space, they're going to envision themselves, and they can envision themselves in that space. So that's what this is why we want to make small edits, but they want a nice, clean kitchen, clean cells. So as long as things are clean, you have missing, sometimes people forget to change their light bulbs. Some light bulbs that are out,
Right.
I make sure that the clients, I'll buy them light bulbs and say,
Oh,
go
no,
around your
really?
house and change the light bulbs.
Yeah.
Because we always forget about stuff like that. And
Oh
then I
my
go in and I
goodness.
switch the light on and there's no light bulb. Like it's out, right?
Right.
So I give them a pack of light bulbs and if I notice it, I'll come back with light bulbs and I'll say, switch them. So things like that.
You've got like $3.99 package of light bulbs will sell
Yeah.
your $500,000 house.
Yes,
Come
you'd
on.
be surprised, just the little touches like that.
And so we're going to round up our look back episode with a quick look at our laptop talk with Ike from ICO Computers on CooLife Podcast. Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by therealthingdating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh.
And everyone here like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character. I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go. Welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John. Today we're having laptop talk with Ike of ICO Computers. And I appreciate your time and your attention. I'm so glad to have you here because I actually have received some messages, just general questions about laptops and computers. And now I can present some of them for you. And first off, can you tell me, have laptop prices started to drop post-pandemic?
I don't think so. As you know, most things we have today, most things we have, the prices are going up. I don't see the price of laptops coming down anytime soon. The only few laptops you have, like the price a little bit cheaper than before the pandemic. Those Chromebooks, which are mainly made for the younger ones.
Okay.
And generally the price is not coming down.
The younger ones.
Yeah, the younger ones. Yeah, the prices are not coming down.
Okay.
They're kind of stable, but just a little bit increase on the prices.
I get that. And it's a shifting economy, and there's some things that, depends on where you go, or special offers are being presented, and it's a little different. When we see different types of laptops come out and they have different improvements, different upgrades, or different updates, does that happen like in batches, or does that come out each year that the updates are made?
It depends on the company you're dealing with. When I say company, I'm talking about the companies that manufacture the hardware.
Right.
That's inside almost all the laptops, because there are only few companies that manufacture the laptop parts.
So just saying that, laptop improvements and the different years and the different batches, like, do we see that improvement every year, or does it come out in batches every couple of years?
No, not really. There is improvement, yes, mostly on the CPU side. On the memory side, when I say memory, I mean RAM. On the hard drive side, because the old hard drive, which was the one with the mini disk inside, is that one is kind of being wiped out right now. We now have the one they call M.2 SS NVMe hard drive and the regular 2.5 SSD hard drive. Those are one that are invoked right now. But when it comes to the commodity batches, no, it depends on which company you're dealing with.
Right.
Some companies like to come out with new items every 5, 6, 7, 8 months, sometimes a year.
Wow.
When it comes to like something like CPU, usually that one takes about 2 or 3 years, and it depends on the company you're dealing with too, because it's just like what happened to BlackBerry back in the day, if you remember.
Yeah.
because it took them a long period of time for them to come out with their next product. People kind of went away from their product. So companies tend to not to stay too long before they come out with a newer products. Mostly when it comes to CPU, memory, which is the RAM, might last a little bit more years, but the CPUs they tend to update from time to time.
Okay. Now, I wonder, for all the different types of laptops and all the brands, and guess, knowing what those internal processors really are, do you have a laptop that you favor, that you think has really got it going on, maybe a top one or two?
Not really, because only few companies in the world manufacture the different parts inside the laptops, inside these computers actually. Just few of them. So basically you have different names, but the manufacturer of everything inside those laptops are all manufactured by the same company.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Understand? So they all use the same component. But if you want me to tell you my preference would be ThinkPad, the T series IBM ThinkPad, which was bought over by Lenovo. So they now call it Lenovo ThinkPad, the T series. Those are the best laptops to get. IBM was the pioneer from back in the day.
Right.
So their system tend to be very, very rugged.
Okay. That's good to know. A nice little tip on what to look out for recommended
But
laptop.
I need to say one more thing. Most people don't like Lenovo ThinkPad because of the color. The color seems to be the same. You buy a new one today, it looks like a laptop that was manufactured 20, 30 years ago because they tend to stay black.
Right.
Really, they don't. The manufacturer really don't care, but I think that's their unique way of marketing their stuff. I don't know. But most people that have used that product will never love use a different products.
Really? Okay.
That's right. Thank you, ma'am.
They have your vote of confidence. Well, can you tell me, for your different uses, what kind of laptop do you actually use these days?
You're gonna be surprised. I'm not saying people shouldn't get a laptop. I'm not a fan of laptop.
Oh.
I have been in the computer business for 20-something years now, and I never had a laptop. I sell laptops, I fix laptops, I always use desktop because I'm one of those people, I don't want my laptop to be there and here and take it to the bedroom or whatever, what have you. I always have desktop in my house. I sit comfortably on my table. When I'm done, I get up and I don't want it to go with me to the bedroom or here and there. And for my kids, they all use desktop. I never had a laptop.
Interesting.
But if I have a business I want to do outside, which I don't, like the real estate agent, they better off getting a laptop. You understand my point?
Yes. Yeah, that portability of using that laptop.
That's right.
It's good to know. Right now, we're going to take a break, and then we'll talk about our sponsors and supporters. We'll be back for more laptop talk on CooLife Podcast with Ike at ICO Computers. And that was a look back at our laptop talk with Ike of ICO Computers. We can look forward to more laptop talk in the future to answer your questions and queries about issues with your laptop. And so that wraps up season 1 pretty much. And I cannot think of a better way to say goodbye, good night, good afternoon, good morning than to have a look back at our farewell greeting from Boris Klimovich at Maple Crescent Farm. From me to you, I want to say thank you so much for the love and support that we've received through season 1. Please enjoy the holidays, have a rest, enjoy your travel, and we'll see you in 2024 for season 2 of CooLife Podcast. And we're going to rock on out of here with a little goodbye from Boris Klimovich.
So I think that's the most satisfying, I think some of the more magical moments on the farm are, those beautiful summer evenings when everything is calm and the work is done and you've had a shower and you've had something to eat and you're sitting on the deck with your wife and the only thing you hear is the occasional snort of a horse, and some horse squeals because another horse came too close, and everything seems to be fine. It's almost like the stars align, and everything just works. You know, that makes it worthwhile.
For sure. I can imagine that. And do you think there would be anything that would bring you back to city living?
No.
That's a fast answer.
No, there's nothing. I don't want to live in a city anymore. I don't want to sit in traffic. I get upset when I have to drive into Port Hope and there's 4 cars at the red light in front of me. It's like, why are you in my town? So no, I don't want to live in the city. I don't mind going to the city once in a while and getting the hell out, but no, I never want to live in a big city again.
Beautiful. It's inspiring. And maybe one day some of us will catch up to you. Boris, it's been absolutely beautiful having a chance to talk to you about the real ins and outs of the change in your lifestyle over the many years and the challenges.
20 years in June. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations to you and your whole family, to your wife and yourself.
She won't let me forget.
Oh,
that's her.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's Kendra.
That's Kendra. Yeah, that's Kendra.
Beautiful. It's nice to know this is something that you've been able to share and enjoy together with your family and inspire so many of us, starting with me. I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your time and your energy in joining us here at CooLife Podcast. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.